Welcome back. In this section, we will be exploring functionality inside of objects. So here we're going to start with an aquarium object. We are in the ocean of objects after all. An aquarium object filled with other objects. And let's first build some add and remove functionality for our aquarium. Inside our aquarium, you can see we have some fish, a starfish, as well as a couple toys, a coral castle and a dragon statue. Our aquarium looks pretty good, but what if we wanted to add some creatures? Well, we can build a function called add critter. And in that, we would pass a container. In this case, we're probably going to be passing the aquarium, as well as the name of our creature, the type, the species, and the length. We could also create an add toy function. This one would get the container, the name, the type, the material, as well as whether it moves or not. To add a creature to our container, we would do container bracket name and assign to it a brand new object literal where we pass the parameters in to each of the properties for that object. Now, wouldn't it be nice if these functions actually belonged to the aquarium instead of being external to the aquarium itself? Let's try adding one of these functions to our aquarium object. The important thing about objects is that properties can also be functions. That's going to allow us to add our add critter function in. Something to be aware of is that you will often hear an object's function properties being referred to as its methods. So to add a new property that holds a function, we would just create an add critter property, much like we would create other properties, and then inside of it we would build an anonymous function. Now, something to really pay attention to here is that our container parameter has disappeared. And that's because we're making the function belong to that very container. We're going to use some special syntax now that refers to the aquarium object. Now, the this keyword will always refer to the owner object of the function in which the this is used. So in this case, when called, add critter will say, hey aquarium, that's what the this does. Make a new property with this name, that's the one in the bracket, and then assign to it an object with these particular properties. Sweet, we got a property that holds a function, awesome. And now it's available as a property on the aquarium object. So let's go ahead and add a creature. Let's add a yellow tang called Bubbles. If we pass in the name Bubbles, which we know is a fish, and the kind of fish is a yellow tang, the species, and its length is 5.6. We just call the function just like referencing any other property in aquarium, but in this one, we put up a set of parentheses for parameters and pass in the information. And here comes Bubbles. Drops into the aquarium, and we have all of Bubbles' properties set correctly. Well, our tank's looking a little full, so let's try to build another method that will be able to remove any of the objects from our aquarium. And since you already know how to build a function inside the object literal with a property, let's now try to build a function on the fly. And we can do that with the dot operator and a function expression. All we will need here to delete any property, whether it's a fish or a toy or even a function, is its name. What we'll need here is a temp variable that will help us hold on to the object that we remove. So what we're doing here is we're saying create this temp variable and assign to it a reference to the object that this name points to. Why are we doing this? Because we still want to have access to the object outside of the aquarium. We don't want it to float off into code oblivion. We want to be able to use it or maybe place it on the table or something like that. Next, we will remove the actual property from the aquarium. That's with the delete keyword. Finally, we'll return the temp variable so that we can still have a reference to that removed object once the takeout method is finished. Let's test our takeout method. So we'll get a variable established here called fish out of water, and we'll take out a fish. Who are we going to take out? We'll take out Marlin. What happens is that Marlin's entire property is completely eliminated, and Marlin gets established inside the fish out of water variable now. If we were to log out the fish out of water variable, we can see that the entire fish object of Marlin is still available. But wait a second, that kind of sucks because we lost Marlin's name. So let's see if we can fix that problem with some clever property trickery. We're going to add an extra line to our takeout method. This is going to make sure that we get Marlin's name when we remove him from the aquarium. Now don't let this frighten you, but stay very close on it. The first name in this line of code will find the desired object in the aquarium and using the parameter name as the property name. So this bracket name is finding inside the aquarium the object we're looking for. Then we use a dot, and that second name will create a new property inside the object that we want to remove. This is kind of cool. And notice though that that dot name is not the same name as the function's parameter. That's very important. This third name, however, is the function's parameter. It assigns the old property name, which we already know is Marlin, to the newly created name property in the removed object. How sneaky and cool is that? We love it. Now when we take Marlin out, and then we log out his variable, on the back end of our object we see a new property name called name, and Marlin's name is there. Woohoo! No identity crisis. Fantastic. Now the cool thing about our takeout method is that it will take out any object. We could delete even our dragon statue. So let's try that. We'll establish a variable called toy and go ahead and take out the dragon statue. It shows up inside the toy variable, and when we log out the toy, this time we can see not only is the toy been taken out of the aquarium, but look at the back end, you can see the name was saved, dragon statue. So now you know how to add and manipulate functions inside of objects. And we're going to give you a few challenges that do just that. Hope you enjoy them. We'll see you back in the next section.